AOC Ilhan Omar go to the Supreme Court yesterday, protesting the reversal of Roe v. Wade, and they are arrested by the Capitol Police. And then they are handcuffed, or at least we assume they're handcuffed, but it turns out they sort of weren't handcuffed. You be the judge.
We won't go back. 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 We won't go back.
Be advised, you are currently engaged in illegal demonstration activity. Cease and desist or you will be arrested. That's your third and final warning.
Looks like a racist cop to me. Okay, you see her hands behind her back. It looks like she's been handcuffed, right? Wrong. If you're handcuffed, can you put your fist in the air? Free Angela! Free Angela! And then she puts her hand back. And poor Ilhan Omar, she'd pull the same thing, except she didn't have a cop next to her. She's just wandering along, handcuffed by an invisible cop who put invisible handcuffs on her. And notice she put her hand up as well. She broke away from her invisible handcuffs and put her hand up too. So, not too surprisingly, it triggered a whole bunch of tweets, including one from yours truly. Here's what I tweeted. Representative AOC photographed being arrested by police at U.S. Supreme Court while holding her hands behind her back, pretending to be handcuffed. Sources say she then pretended to be bound, blindfolded, gassed, gagged, tased, stabbed, beaten, shot, and then sent to Guantanamo Bay. Another tweeter, breaking AOC arrested for blocking traffic during abortion protests, found mentally incompetent to stand trial. Here's another one. AOC says officer who handcuffed her placed his knee on her neck for 30 minutes, causing her to die. End of quote. Speaking of Mayor Pete, let's go to climate change. Mayor Pete gave away the game. You know, the more we experience pain at the pump, the greater incentive there is for us to buy electric vehicles, right?
Of course, the more pain we are all experiencing from the high price of gas, the more benefit there is for those who can access electric vehicles.
There it is. By the way, Joe Biden was asked if he owns an electric vehicle. Well, it wasn't Joe Biden, it was his press secretary was asked, Jen Psaki, and she wouldn't answer the question. Joe Biden wants everybody to go out and buy an EV, but apparently Joe Biden has not gone out and bought an EV. I guess he's been busy. Now, a representative named Massey asked Mayor Pete, what would happen if everybody plugged in their electric cars? What would that do to our energy grid? What would it do to prices of electricity?
The average household uses 17% of their electricity for air conditioning. And that would mean the average household uses 1,870 kilowatt hours per year for air conditioning. If that average household plugged in electric cars, do you know how much more electricity they would use in comparison to the air conditioning that air conditions their whole house?
No, but again, I would emphasize it will
let me help you with
overall.
that first before we go on, because the numbers are important. It would take 4 times as much electricity to charge the average household's cars as the average household uses on air conditioning. Do you think that could be? So if we reach the goal by 2030 that Biden has of 50% adoption instead of 100% adoption, that means the average household would use twice as much electricity charging one of their cars as they would use for all of the air conditioning that they use for the entire year.
Oops. Now, I want to go near the end of my presentation for you today because this story dovetails to what we're talking about here. A family learned an unforgettable lesson when an electric vehicle battery suddenly dies. Replacement costs more than the car. This is from The Blaze. Avery Sawinski, 17-year-old from St. Petersburg, loved her electric Ford Focus. Her parents spent $11,000 on the used car, a 2014 car with 60,000 miles on the odometer. Sawinski described her car as small and quiet and cute. Then one day, 6 months after her parents bought the car, it suddenly stopped working, went dead. And Sawinski said in March, it started giving an alert, and we took it to the shop, and it stopped running. Now, the car, according to mechanics, needed a new battery. Unfortunately, a local Ford dealership said replacing the battery would cost 14 grand, 14 large, and that figure did not include labor costs. The dealership made an offer. I'll give you $500 for the car. But according to her grandfather, the story got worse. Weeks after learning the battery replacement cost more than the car itself, Ray Sawinski learned owners of the Ford Focus cannot even buy replacement batteries. Ford discontinued production of the vehicle several years ago, so the batteries aren't available. Then we found out the batteries weren't available, he said, so it didn't matter. They could cost twice as much, and we still couldn't get it. That did not come up during the hearing with Mayor Pete. I want to turn to Roe v. Wade. I've heard a lot of arguments against the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Jerry Nadler has taken it to a new low. Watch this.
Justice Thomas mentioned all of that specifically. Yes, he said this case doesn't involve that. We're not deciding that yet, which is what the portion of his concurrence that Mr. Johnson read. But read the rest of his concurrence, where he said specifically that we should overrule or reconsider Obergefell and Lawrence, which is consensual, which is gay marriage, which is consensual sodomy. He didn't mention Loving, though for some reason, which is interracial marriage, maybe the fact that he's intermarried and so is Senator McConnell, maybe that had something to do with it, but the same logic applies there.
So the reason Clarence Thomas, in his opinion, did not mention reconsidering Loving versus Virginia is because he's in an intermarriage, as Jerry Nadler put it. And Mitch McConnell's in an intermarriage, as Nadler put it. Isn't that Loving versus Virginia is based on the 14th Amendment, equal protection? No. It's that he's in an interracial marriage himself, and that's the only reason he didn't want to reconsider that, because it would hurt him. Not because of principle. How pathetic is that? Hope you enjoyed that video. The full show is available to watch right now on Epoch TV. Just click the link in the description below to learn more, because we've got a country to save.